guys. So, as with all my other videos, pretty much all that you need to know is right in front of you. Test setup, the settings used, and extra info that you might want to know as to why there's a DXR entry and what exactly I used with that entry, right? And just also why there's this and what this is. So what this is obviously is hardware scheduling. So HGS would be this. If you watch the raw testing video, this, right? Um, so there it is. Now, max OC all the way over here with no HGS, right? That did somewhat significantly beat the stock result with XMP. Now 7% isn't huge, like almost 8%. It's not huge, but if you look at games like COD, like that's what you're seeing, right? I'm actually gonna mention here. Just gonna mention. Um, Disabled. Those are kind of important mentions, and yeah, just leave this here. Okay, there we go. So, yeah, now low latency was off. I don't know if that helps. Kind of exacerbate CPU differences. I know with low latency on, the CPU can kind of hold off frames to keep in pace with the GPU, and yeah, I just didn't want to risk it, so I had that off because I thought it made sense. I didn't in my other CPU video with the i9 and the i7 compared. Maybe I should have. The i7 might have won by a bigger margin with low latency disabled and scheduling disabled. So kind of your script on my part there. I should probably maybe consider turning them off. But in this regard, I mean, even with them disabled, CPU differences and RAM differences aren't huge. I mean, we weren't expecting a massive difference because I mean, keep in mind, guys, it's the same platform, right? Same GPU, with the OC settings I showed in the raw testing video. So just these settings, pretty decently overclocked 4080, 25.5 gigabits per second on the memory, and about 2985, maybe 2970 at min to 3000, depending on how much loads on the card, as the actual observable boost clock in game. So the observable clock was around like 2970 to 3000. 2985 on average, I would say, with plus 135 offset, because generally speaking at stock it's 2850, so plus 135, 2985, and then give or take depending on the load and the temperatures and stuff or whatever, the boost algorithm decides, and then there'll be either 2970 in some circumstances, sometimes 3000, so whatever it wants to clock to. But a fairly decently OC'd card, so not a slow 4080. Obviously a 4090 would have been better for this because obviously a 90 would have stretched the CPU, right? Obviously, but I don't have 4090 and that's about it. But either way, so 7.65% is what you're seeing. Now, what does that translate to? Well, I can't say for sure, but from what I can roughly see, if you look at these jumps, right, like these three, because obviously this incorporates the CPOC, which actually did, I think, here we go. So actually the CPOC did help quite a bit, 2.45%, about 2.5% just on the CPOC. It's not huge, but it is there. Like, people say CPOCs have no difference, especially, like, people say there's no scaling, whatever. I was actually surprised. There's actually a fairly big, or fairly, like, noticeable jump just on CPU clocks, which I was not expecting at all. I was expecting, like, nothing, actually, to be honest with you. And no, it actually made a difference, about 6 frames on average here. And if you look at the scaling over here, the biggest jump obviously comes between 7200 and XMP, and then the next biggest jump is to 7.6. Now keep in mind that XMP has horrendous subtimings. This has the best subtimings by far of all the tests, because obviously I'll show you. The subtimings on this, they're quite good. So I think I've mentioned before that when you start stretching the board's limits, you also have to start playing with sub timings because it becomes a big factor. But yeah, the sub timings are over here, and these are pretty good. So 8-4 on the TRD values, so quite good. So four different group is quite good, and then 16T4 is what you want to see, and then 12-12 is pretty good, and then 10-20 for these two is really good. So yeah, really good like sub timings, tight sub timings. 13-8 here, 13-8 there, 60-50, 18-18. So yeah, really good sub timings. So yeah, 7,200 had, I guess you could say, the best kind of like the tightness, like the tightest config, right? So yeah, the biggest difference came at 7.2, almost 10 FPS, like pretty much you could say 10 FPS. I mean, on a different day, right? Like with slight different conditions, this would have been like ideally 10 FPS. But you could say about 10 FPS right here, okay? So about 10 frames is what you're seeing going from this XMP just to jumping to the tuned 7.2 setup. And I guess 10 frames, I mean, it's not huge, so I actually have it written down here. It is this one here. Oh, second most improved results. So roughly almost 4%. You could say 4%. I would say I would be comfortable saying 4% because a few more frames and it would have been 4%. So 4% ish, going from just XMP all the way to this. And this is 1440p, right? This is not like 720p. Because a lot of people take issue with 720p testing because they're like, oh, no one's ever in a game in 720p. Well, this is 1440p, so 4% is not nothing. It's something. Is it worth the effort? I mean, it's up to you. If you want 10 frames for free, totally up to you. I mean, keep in mind, this runs at a lower voltage than XMP. This is 1.35 volts. This is 1.4. So it's not even like you're adding voltage. It's like just better. It's objectively better. At 10 frames for free, um, it's just better. I mean, there's no real way to, you know, elaborate further. It's just superior in every way. Takes a bit of time, not that much time, because 7.2 on this board is easy peasy. So I would say, I mean, this is just nice performance for free. But yeah, the max OC, I mean, so if you look at 7.6 versus 7.2, it's not much. You're adding about 1% to the FPS. So I would say you could probably elucidate that adding another 400 mega transfers to 8,000 C34. Let's forget about timings. Let's say just adding another 400 mega transfers might be like another 1%, and then adding 400 to that, so 884 might be another 1%. So maybe like all in all, you could expect that 8.4 versus 7.2 would be, I don't know, maybe 3%, 3 to 4% maybe. Right, so not huge. But yeah, it's there. So you guys have the data now. And I mean, in some games, like I'm guessing I could have tested Cyberpunk and like Ghost Recon and stuff, maybe would have added some spice to this, but I think these games tested are relatively like decent because people still play them, especially these three. Um, and Watch Dogs does leverage CPU quite decently, so I'm happy using it. Cyberpunk 2, but Cyberpunk, I mean, I did have it installed. That's why I didn't test it. I would have tested it, but I just didn't have it installed. And also, I've heard like that the benchmark doesn't actually really do a good job of being consistent. So I don't know. Whatever. This is what we had today, and you know, with these games, not huge, but it is there, and I ranked them for you guys so you can get an idea. So the biggest difference you'll see is like maxing out your CPU, maxing out your DRAM versus stock and XMP, and you'll see about 7.5%. I mean, depending on where you get, like let's say you were like 8.4, this might end up being 10%. So 8.4 might be 10%. So yeah, I mean, 10% is a fairly reasonable deduction. I mean, people were saying that the Zen 3D results, like, I mean, I was saying that you could pretty much add 10% to any i9 config with good ADI and stuff, and that's the numbers that AMD would have had, is 10% more, meaning that versus Zen 3D, even in the tested titles, they wouldn't have been winning by like more than 5-10%. And keep in mind, AMD slides are generally not like representative, so you could expect that maybe 5-10% is the most you would see on Zen3D on the games they decided to test, and that's like their best pool. Because keep in mind, guys, th- this is not like they don't test like a bunch of games. They just decide like on the day, okay, these games are the ones we're doing because just because. No, they have their engineers and their nerds sitting at their desks with these configs, literally running bench after bench after bench after bench for days and days and days and days, so that they can present something to the gaming community in CES on stage that looks impressive. And there's absolutely no way that the games they tested were not strategically picked because of marketing, sales, player numbers, relevancy, just what it will look like to put those games on the slide, and then combine that with what they were seeing and testing and what they could kind of where they could find the biggest gaps. So expect that in the best games with an actually decent optimized Intel config, you would maybe see 10%. 10% from the 16 core versus the i9. Versus the 8 core, pretty much nothing. Like maybe 5%. And in the games they lose, which they did not show you, that's up to you guys. I don't know. The numbers are right here, guys, and my thoughts are my thoughts, but we know that AMD do not represent their numbers accurately on stage, and they're gonna cherry pick the best results. So, versus the i9, like expect no more than 5-10%. Versus the versus the i9. So with the 16 core, and then with the 8 core, the budget part, expect more like 5%, maybe 10% maybe on some games, but 5%, right? 5%. And yeah, I mean, in the games they lose, they might lose by a few percent too. And then keep in mind, the 8 core will be more expensive than the i7. The i7 will be cheaper, for sure. The 13700K will be cheaper than the 8 core. There's no way. Like, the 8 core cannot be less than $400. So the i7 wins in pricing. Platform costs I can do for you guys, I'm telling you right now, with the right platform picks, like, for your config, um, it doesn't come out too much. Like, I can even do an example. So I can do a mock config. So 13700K or F, right? Um, it's gonna be about $400 when you're buying with your brain. Overseas for you guys, obviously. In Africa, it's different with VAT and stuff. But for you guys in America, I can use these prices. So about $400, and then Z790 Elite non-AX. Why you need Wi-Fi? Screw Wi-Fi. Forgettable Wi-Fi, man. About 250, 260, depending on if there's a sale or whatever. So wait, sorry guys, I got no. My my sub keys, like the sub characters aren't backlit, so I have to like kind of guess where they are. So 250, 260. I would say about 250 is like, just for like simplicity's sake, let's say 250, and then the kit that I use. So this one, this kit over here is $200 right now. 200 smackaroos, bro. Best deal ever. So that's the platform cost. So that right there is, what was it? It's $850, right? So you can go i9. You could say about, let's see what it is. What is it? Oh, I should go to Micro Center, man. What am I doing? Micro Center are the goats. They always have stuff at the best prices. Like, they always have the best, most fair prices. So, makes the most sense. Wait, let's just go Intel i9. Okay. 580. Ah, wow. Okay, that's cheap, man. Damn it all. That's hella cheap, dude. Damn, okay. Wow. I mean, let's just even say the K because of the iGPU and the IMC, so it's 580. Damn. That's crazy. Intel i7. Wow, 380, man. Goodness. So, let's just say like 580 to 600. Yeah, let's just say $600. You know what? Let's just be fair. That's a sale right now. That's a sale. But we can say this is about 400 usually, generally. Like, I mean, it depends, but yeah, about 400 usually, and then that's about 600 now, and then that's gonna stay the same. I mean, let's see what it sells for here. I'm just curious. I don't know. At 260. Okay, so 260 for the AX, right? So it is 260, and that's even an AX. That's not even the non-Wi-Fi. Let's just say they don't sell the non-Wi-Fi, but okay. So you get Wi-Fi, whatever, cool. You get a better board, great stuff. Okay, and this kit, let's see, Z5 6400. So 210 over here, but if you go to Amazon, so 200 bucks, right? 200 bucks for these. Oh wow, 185 for the non-RGB. Okay, okay. So 185, dude. Good stuff. So, and let's just see the Intel i7, i9. Let's like just to see if it's cheaper here. Also want to see this. Elite. Okay, 260 is the price. Whatever. That's the price. Okay, this is the DDR4 version. That one on Micro Center was D5. I'm not wrong. It is. It is. D5 version. Okay, cool. So we're good. Okay, now Amazon. Just check the CPU prices. So 420 is a bit expensive. 400 for the KF. Okay, I'm gonna say. So as of right now, we'll just give it the fun prices because you know what? Like they're unlikely to go up. So I'm just gonna say, like, so do that, and I'm gonna say Micro Center. Oh, actually, I'll just put in brackets. I think that's how you spell it. Pretty sure that's how you spell it. And then Amazon. And that's gonna be the non-RGB, if anyone is wondering. So I'm gonna actually get the kit number. I'm gonna get the pot number for you guys because that can complicate things. Trident Z5. Honestly, guys, RGB looks. I mean, it's okay, but like, I wouldn't pay extra for it, guys. Get the cheaper one, man. Like, just get this. This is amazing. Like, this is crazy. And I mean, I haven't seen this one too often, so I mean, the odds of this being A-die is very good. Like, I'm gonna. I mean, if you want the silver ones, I like the black ones actually. They're growing on me. Like, you know. Once you go black, you know. Oh my word. I'm so dumb. Alright. Anyway. So, the black ones I like, and they're 180. Give me $1, man. Just give me $1 for the math, real quick, okay? Just forgive me. Forgive me. So, that's the K, by the way. So that's not even the KF. So we are guaranteeing a better IMC with the K. On average, anyway. The stats do show the Ks have better IMCs. It makes sense because of the silicon. On the KFs are typically more like broken in some areas, so it makes sense that the silicon near the IMC would be maybe a bit more compromised, because it's not a whole die. So yeah. Anyway, 185, 825. Not too bad. 825. So all the AMD people are like, it's gonna be cheaper anyway for the AMD config. Like, dude, I'm sorry I'm making a weird voice, but like, you know that's how you sound. Like, you know that. Like, just, like, come on now. Like, that's literally how you sound half the time. Like, you have no idea how many, guys, you have no idea how many Twitter arguments I got into on this stuff. Like, you have no idea. Like, and I'm not talking about, like, the reasonable argument. Like, Bulldoy made a very reasonable argument. Like, he made a very, like, valid point, and that is, like, in some of the games where AMD wins, they really win. Like, they win. They really win. And I'm like, you know what? That's a fair point. You know, I have some opinions that, like, not everyone plays those games because they're on, let's just say they're not the most popular games, but, like, fair enough. Like, that's a fairly reasonable point as to why you might want AMD. But yeah, right now, like, this is what you're looking at. So, I'm actually gonna try and make this look kind of nice. See if I could do something fun. Okay, it's not gonna work. Never mind. Never mind. It'll have to sit like this. Alright, so anyway, you like this. Okay, cool. So, that's, I'm not gonna mention AI or the power supply because who cares? Yeah, just, yeah, who cares? Anyway, so, that's not correct. 825. Yeah, so, 825 for this, and 1025 for this. Now, which would I buy? Now, there was someone, if they watch this video, they know who they are, and I don't care if you take offense to this. I think you made a very dumb point. When you said to me the i7 is a really bad CPU, and you couldn't believe that I said an i7 would be a good match against the 8 cores in part. I think you're ridiculous. It's $200 freaking dollars for 8 E-cores and 6 megs of L3. Like, 6 megs of L3, 6 megs of L2. Are you trolling me, my dude? Are you trolling me? Like, $200 for 8 E-cores, 6 megs of L2, 6 megs of L3. Like, what? Bro, what? Nah. Nah, mate, you're cooked. You're cooked anyway, dude. Like, there's no way. There's no way. Dude, this config makes so much more sense. Like, in gaming, you're missing maybe 1%, maybe 2% between the two of these. The difference between these two is less than the difference between the 16 core and the 8 core Ryzen part. Now, keep in mind, guys, keep in mind, okay? This is very important. So, if I minimize, right? So that's the first point. And this is irrefutable. So, if the 3D chip beats the i7 by 5 to 10% in some games, and then loses in other games, with these kinds of configs, like, I mean, this config I had, like, this config is very doable. Like, I'm gonna give you guys an idea just, like, in a few minutes of, what exactly this config is. So, let me just make this point real quick. Let me finish this point real quick. So, I go there. Okay. Oh, sorry. Not that one, this one. But for gamers, the fact remains, the i7 probably still wins overall. Like, for gamers who just want a fast PC that can do stuff, like, besides gaming, this config over here, man, this is it. Like, that's the config you want, right? You want my kit, you want my CPU, and you want this board. This particular board over here, okay? Now, Simple. So, need I say more? Like, so that's about it. All you've got to know. If you buy this config above here and you learn on OC to some degree, whether it be by watching my videos, watching whoever else helps you OC, I don't know if there are many others that do that. Yeah, I mean, if you get this combination over here for this price, I can guarantee you're gonna have a great time and probably the best value you could still buy. I probably would not buy the 3D chip if you're gonna buy the A-core, simply because I don't believe that it's gonna beat the i7. Like my config over here in these XL, like this, even this config, which is not hard to get. Like I said, like it was achieved on a literal piece of trash. Like this IMC and this, like, these cores are just egregious, man. Like this is so doable, dude. Like, I mean, my stuff is literally the worst you can, like, it is, like, dude, I can't even, bro. Like, my i7 and my RAM kit are, like, the worst possible samples of all the samples you could buy. Like, the silicon rating on this stuff is, like, terrible, man. Like, my kit's doing this at, like, 1.55 volts, dude. Like, I mean, dude. Like, the odds of you getting a better kit and a better CPU are much higher. Like, tremendously higher than getting worse. Like, the odds of you getting a worse set of samples than mine is, like, it's almost not possible. Like, it's so unlikely. And this Aorus board by this point is so tried and tested, bro. Like, so many outlets online, like on Twitter, people from Asia have, like, tested this board, and the board is great. The board can definitely do 7.6. It could possibly do 8,000, maybe. Like, that depends if it's a good PCB sample. I'm not gonna say you're gonna 8,000 because I'll be lying if I said that. Like, if you go really lucky on the i7 and the board and the RAM kit, and you could do, like, you maybe could do 8,000. Like, I mean, you could potentially get like 5.7 gigahertz peak cores and like 8,000, like, on your samples. Like, you could literally get that if you got lucky. Like, it depends. But as a floor, I would say probably like this kind of CPU OC would be the floor in SSE, which is gaming, and then like maybe 7.4 as the floor. Like, maybe if you got a really bad kit and a really bad board sample, like 7.4 at worst. So yeah, like, I mean, if you still want to buy Zen 3D, go for it. I mean, it's up to you, it's your life, but like, in my opinion, um, I feel like I'm cooking. So let me cook, dude. Like, let me cook. Like, just give me a chance. So, yo, like, you guys tell me in the comments, am I cooking? Because I think I'm cooking. I'm not an Intel fanboy. I'm just being real with you. Like, yo, this CPU might make more sense because, I mean, depending on how it falls, because it was doing really well in the test data. So, I mean, depending on how it falls, like, I mean, if it's not, like, expensive, then maybe, like, you know, it depends, right? It really depends. Because if it's a bit more expensive, and like I said again, it wins by like 5-10% max against the i9, and then loses in some games, and then it's more expensive, and then you can still buy this platform for like $1,000, right? So, yeah. And please, no one, I mean, dude, if anyone comments down below and links me some like 4800 micron kit with like no heatsink that looks terrible, like, and some, you know, $150, like, some like terrible B650 board, like, okay, listen, like, you could do that with the AMD parts, but they're not the same. Like, that is not the same as buying a very decent capable board in this board, and then like a nice kit of ADI. Like, those are not the same. Like, even though you could technically get by but like a 4800 kit, like theoretically speaking, like that's not the same as buying this. And keep in mind, even AMD's own testing was conducted on a better kit than like a 4800 piece of crap that's like $120, right? So anyway, yo, tell me what you guys think. I mean, my raw data is there for you guys to look at. So whatever, if you don't believe me, the video's up. I'm gonna link it in the description as always. And I think I'm cooking, guys. Like, I mean, what more do you want? So I'll check you guys again later, I guess.